make this slide. Madam Chair, your meeting is ready.
Awesome. Whoa,
Yeah.
that's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did not get that one.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, hello all. Welcome to Land Use and
Yay.
Planning. It's April 13th, and it's 4:30 p.m. Just giving you the update. Do you know where your children are? Sorry.
I do not.
Okay, so first on the agenda, approving March 23rd, 2026 minutes. I believe everyone
Yep.
received those.
Yep, I went over them today. Looks good.
Any response or feedback?
Were those the draft ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or are we just gonna leave those next steps in there, we don't care?
I
I removed them
That's
from the other
actually
one,
seemed
but,
accurate, except for it basically had me doing all the things, which I'm not gonna do all the things.
I was like, I was thinking you were really busy.
Well, I mean, I can't even do two things, let alone all the things, so, yeah. I would say.
It's fine with me, so.
Yeah, okay.
I will approve with the amendment of, removing,
Chelsea,
yeah, just my name
Chelsea.
entirely, no. The next steps.
okay. Yeah, I move to approve meeting minutes from 3:20. You know, why am I moving? I wasn't even here.
I can move to approve.
It's like I read them.
Awesome. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Yay. Okay. On to number 2, Title 8, Chapter 8, Use of City-Owned Land, Amendment to address the removal of fees for First Amendment expression. That was one thing that I was supposed to put together, that the amendment.
Okay.
I have not had the opportunity to do so at this point. I have all the notes to have that done. With that being said, I was waiting to hear back from the city in terms of insurance. Is that something that was?
I would have to double check. I believe I asked all the iterations and we are covered.
Okay, fabulous.
So there was not a concern of, I can do a follow-up for me, follow-up with insurance.
Yeah, if you
Because
believe
I know
that-
we asked, but I'm trying to think basically anything that's legal is covered. And it can be legal because we declare it legal.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Mhm.
So as long as we're covered, I am happy with removing all fees in regards to that. So, I will go through and get that up, and hopefully I'll actually have a draft for tomorrow's meeting. I apologize for not having this done sooner.
And that is not, you could hand it out tomorrow, but it is not on.
Oh, no,
I
yeah.
didn't put it on the.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's totally fine. So basically, I just want to have it handed out so that way we can have it, that can be off my plate till next time.
Okay.
Rodeo MOU, I got an email about 2 hours ago from Brian Hanna.
And it's basically the same thing you just said, except it's me saying that, just didn't get to it. I have all of it, it's ready to go.
Okay.
It just was not what the time got spent on this cycle.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep, that was kind of my thought. He's like, hey, do you have that? I'm like, oh God, was that another thing I was supposed to do that I didn't do?
No, that was always on me.
Good. Excellent. So very happy to hear that. So we are just waiting for those
We're
final.
going to be done by 5:20.
Honestly, yeah.
Sweet.
No, I imagine so.
Yeah, right.
So we will be waiting for that rodeo MOU. We should have that by our next meeting to have approved. I know that we discussed it 2 meetings ago, and there was just a few final edits to it. So I don't see that being any issue, but we could probably have that up for action
Mhm.
we'll have it up for discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Cool. All right, next up, the Red Lodge Ice Kickoff Meeting Planning. We did have a conversation at our last meeting, specifically, and I'll just kind of start it again, what the Red Lodge Ice Kickoff Meeting is, because there was confusion around what that actually was supposed to be. So the kickoff meeting is for the PAR, for Red Lodge Ice, with their planning to figure out, one, the best solution of where they want to see, or where a ice skating rink could best fit, as well as what the engineering plans with the architectural review looks like, all of those pieces. The kickoff meeting is specifically getting together city staff along with their architect and engineering choices, and making sure that there are certain things addressed within their PAR, so when we have it for review, we're not making them go back and do additional work.
Correct.
With this kickoff meeting, we wanted to have some additional participants invited to make sure that bases are covered. So specifically, having our city inspector,
Mhm.
having the planning department available, Mike Maples with Public Works, having a Parks, with Roger with Parks Board, having Dave representing city staff as well, having someone from our steering committee on there with land use and planning as also as a representative of council. They also wanted to have there's recommendations for a Ward 1 representative. So if I were that person, I would fit Ward 1 and LUP and council. So that one does have a Chelsea next to it. We can put me there.
Okay.
Unless anyone else from this
When
committee
is
would
it?
like to. We don't have this scheduled yet.
Okay.
Essentially, Red Lodge Ice has to still hire, an engineer or an
haven't done it.
architect to
Okay.
actually start this. So until they have that hired and they've been vetted from the city, we won't have this kickoff meeting. But we wanted to be ready for when it does happen.
Okay.
Then also, there was discussion of having someone from resort tax there. I do not think that's a bad idea.
Okay.
I know it's a lot of people, but realistically, I think more so the format of the meeting would just be, hey, this is the intent of the PAR, and it's basically going around the room and making sure, or basically a presentation from this architect, and the planners presenting to this group, and then making sure that this group has the opportunity to provide feedback of additional items that they would like to request.
And this is the one where they're taking the two separate locations?
Yep, and this isn't even this is well before that even starts.
Okay,
That's why it's a kickoff meeting. It's
all right.
basically, once they have that person hired and they have the intention of moving forward, they're gonna say, this is all stuff that we plan on reviewing, and then if there's anything in addition, this group of people will have the opportunity to speak up at that point.
Okay, cool.
There has also been requests for public records of this meeting. I think that's fine to have it recorded and available for people to view as well as, watch online, though it probably will not have open comments or, yeah. Mr. Mayor, does that sound all good to you? I know that you don't like this much participation, you felt that city staff should be.
But what you're talking about is not participation, it's observation, I'm fine with that. So
Yeah.
I would back up just a little bit for some of the questions, and partially because I fielded some of this already today, and I will share it as part of Mayor's comments tomorrow. So the first step that's gotta happen is Red Lodge Ice is going to put together the RFP for the PER, that's Request for Proposal for the Preliminary Engineering Report.
For the PA.
They had a question about whether the city was doing that, and so I had a confirmation with them that said, no, the city, specifically Public Works, is signing off on it before it goes out. So they are preparing that, and then they will bring it, and staff, basically, Jeremy and Mike will sign off on it and say, yes, send it out. Then they will come in, my recollection is, I've not had a chance to validate this, but my recollection is that we have specific representation on the selection committee, and then when we select it, and then once that is done, then that is the kickoff meeting, which is them coming in to sit down, and specifically I think that's a Mike Maples-led meeting. That is a staff meeting that says, just so we're all on the same page, here's what the PER is and here's what we expect, although that should also be articulated in the PER. And it's just kind of a confirmation for that, and if there's any ambiguities, the meetings of these that I've been into, more frequently than not, what it is the selected engineering firm brings up things that they have ambiguity or questions about. We didn't understand completely this, we didn't understand completely that, and I have not heard back from final word on. I will tell you that the city attorney's eyes rolled and popped up, and he went all sorts of crazy. I was just kind of like, this is a staff meeting, I don't know, but what I have in my notes is that council's discussing those parameters, legal will sign off on it, but my thinking is, it's being recorded, and it's just a recorded staff meeting, I don't have a problem with that, but staff meeting is not public discussion and all
Right,
sorts
yeah.
of other things.
Yep,
in there.
Observation.
Basically, the big thing for me is that these participants that we just listed off, which is primarily city staff,
Yeah.
with the addition of council representation and, different board representation, just making sure that they are also in the room and that they have the opportunity to provide input at the end. So they will be participating.
And-
General
yeah.
public will not be participating.
And then the other thing to remember is during that RFP process, there is by definition, there will be public meetings, there will be public input.
Yes.
And so everybody's gonna have, that's an entirely separate thing.
Yep.
And there will be public input on those processes.
Yes, correct. The big thing for this kickoff meeting is having these participants to make sure that some of the community questions that have been put out there are being addressed. And, you know, for resort tax, if they have specific questions that they would like are addressed that fit within the framework of that PAR, then this is their opportunity to put that in their brains now, so that way they're not having to backtrack, or we're not getting to the end of this PAR to figure out that we don't have all the answers we need to make a decision. So
Yeah.
that's the true purpose and intent of this.
And it
Again,
may be that the answer is that I have, like I said, to me, what I view it as, it's a staff meeting that's being recorded and watched, and like I said, I may end up having Dennison be there to say yes, no, whatever.
sure, yeah, but realistically, these people will have the opportunity to participate. These people that have been identified within this list. And now having a framework around that is totally fine as well, to where, hey, you may be participating, but that doesn't mean that you can interject, jump in, all of those types of things. It's not a free-for-all. It is more so you are gonna be you get to hear what the plan is with the city staff, and then you have the opportunity to ask questions of, will this be addressed within the PAR? And if not, can we have it addressed within the PAR? Does that make sense? Or does it not fit at all, a PAR? And I think that just creates the clarity within other groups that will be getting the questions from the public, and also making sure that if there is anything that the public has mentioned that needs to be included that fits, that it is. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So again, you have primarily city staff, with the exception of a council member, Roger from Parks, someone from Resort Tax. And if we want Dennison in there as well, I would consider him staff.
Yeah, it'll just be from staff side, and I just, like I said, I've got to get additional follow-up from him on if it's observing, you know, who's observing, who's participating, and who has to sit on their hands. And I will just state that, and how do we keep the meeting under an hour?
Oh, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, but this is not a 6-hour derailment.
No, and I'm not anticipating it to be. I'm just making sure that all the bases are covered, so when we get to the end, it's not a loss.
And to me, the only objective of this thing is to get council real information that they can make a decision on.
Yep.
Rather than a bucket full of non-expert opinions.
Exactly. And so this is, yeah, anyway, I think we're on the same page, mostly. So again, the request for public records, I have no issue with that. And then also, we have made a point that if the city, so a lot of information has been submitted to council as well as the city in terms of community questions and concerns. So next would be to consolidate that down, because I think a lot of that has been multiplied. But, so consolidating down that information into essentially a checklist that can be brought to that meeting, for just input. And so that's something that we have a bunch of that public record already, but then also want to open it up to the public. If they would like to submit anything in addition, they are welcome to submit it to us at the council specifically. I'm more than happy to pull in that data, and then that way it can be submitted within this kickoff meeting. so that the community has an opportunity to provide their input as necessary. Is that all track?
The word.
But remember, there has been public input and there will be specific public input.
Yes,
But-
very, very aware.
But I
of
do
it.
not anticipate
Not for the.
public input at every staff meeting between now
Oh,
and then.
God, no. And again, this is just for this meeting. There's a reason we
Transparency.
requested this exact meeting, was for the opportunity to make sure that the public has their chance to voice their concerns and that it can be addressed within the TAR,
I'm good with that.
if it's suitable.
Keeping it all transparent.
Exactly. Okay. Anyway, if that sounds good, we can move off of that one. Look at all this, we're just checking stuff off.
Donation.
5, donation for city trail.
What's that?
I can give you an update on that too. Again, I'll share this at the council meeting tomorrow.
Yay.
Parks Board is having a special meeting on Wednesday at 5:30.
Okay.
They're gonna meet here and go up and look at that. The
5:30.
primary course of that discussion was there were several conversations about alternative trail possibilities up the hill. My understanding is the Park Board has looked at a lot of those. I'll also add my 2 cents that none of them are mutually exclusive. When they kind of cornered Betsy Scanlon. Betsy Scanlon was like, I'll donate some land behind mine. And I was like, great. If there's more trails, then that will decrease the usage on any one of them. But,
Mhm.
and I think the only thing that I have to clarify from that is that ultimately, this is a council decision as to whether we accept a donation and allow that to become a trail there. This is the Greg O'Neill
Okay, thank you.
donation. And so there, a large part of this conversation is, no, there can't be a trail there. Anyway, so that's what the meeting will be. Everybody's gonna go up and look at it, and I think if council is able to go up and join, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to hear a lot of public input. You'll be
Wednesday?
able to look at the work that's done. Yeah,
This
Wednesday at
Wednesday?
5:30, when there is not a planning board, because it's an alternate
Yeah.
month, where it's the second Tuesday and Wednesday
So
don't appear in the same week.
weird, yeah. Works. Okay. This Wednesday,
The tax day. Sorry, that's all I have down on that day.
oh, I did mine. I did
Madam
it.
Chair, you do
I have
have
a
some
comment
hands
on that.
down here.
Yes, ma'am.
Where will that meeting that group gather?
It sounds like gathering here
They're
and
gonna-
then taking a walk, so, or a drive, depending on weather.
And I don't think if people wanted to just go out and hang up in the city park there off the end of Eighth and wait for them to show up there, I don't think they have to come to this here.
Okay.
It's just because it's an official meeting and they're not taking actions, they have a tendency to start out there. I will add that I am meeting the adjacent property owner tomorrow morning,
Oh, fabulous.
so.
Okay, that'll be great.
Which, adjacent to,
So it's up on the end of Eighth Street, except for the Eighth is not straight through, it comes up, jogs a little bit,
so
and it goes up. So if you go up there, there's a triangle piece of land, and there's like a Suburban or something parked on the city land right there,
Is this on the south side of Joanne Eater's house?
west of Joanne Eater's house, so her backyard.
Yeah, but the,
Yeah, the road is,
yeah.
the road is on the south side, follow that road up to the end of the road.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Another quick question, when someone makes a donation to the city, let's say this one specifically, and they try to outline how it is to be done, is that acceptable? Or do you actually get to make the ultimate?
The answer is they can put whatever conditions they want on it, but then the city can choose not to accept them and just not go forward with it.
And-
I will throw in, because I'm aware of the conversations that have happened there. The idea of this trail is not a recent development. I've heard some back and forth and some potential of motivations behind it, but I will remind everybody that when O'Neill came and wanted that triangle at the top of the hill 2 years ago, this was his original offer, was to trade this piece of land for a trail for that. So he's been working on that for at least 3 years. And we basically said, no, that doesn't have value. That's not an equal value trade, and we traded him the postage stamp in the middle of the other property. So conversations, in my humble opinion, conversations that this is, any of the routing is payback or gotchas are defeated by the fact that this pre-existed before any of those circumstances existed.
I will say that I got to meet up there with, Roger and Ann and kind of take a look at it, and it's mostly the concern is just vertical.
I was
the
gonna say,
routing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's gonna be like
Like it
switchy.
sounded ideally like Parchman generally. It would be better to have a further jog, so it's less of a.
Okay, I was wondering, because I'm looking at them like,
Yeah, it's
So the question is, we want you to donate 300 feet of land rather than 150 feet of
Maybe.
land.
Maybe,
Mhm.
yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a tight run up. The thing I love about this trail option is, one, it already connects to a trail system that we have up at the top of the hill.
right, because the trail's already,
Yep, because it actually crosses the street, like, right, it goes up, right, and then, oops, your screen is
It's a
touchy. And then there's right here is where it
Mhm.
comes up.
yep, I saw that, because this is.
So it would literally interconnect already to a pre-existing trail. Plus, for the folks that live up at Mountain View Apartments, or even the folks up at the golf course,
Better
instead
way to
of,
get into town.
oh, God, instead of having to go down Brewery Hill and to have a trail system that brings you right down to the IGA, right down to the tennis
Oh, well,
courts,
that's what I
like
was
right
saying,
at the
it's
corner,
literally,
yeah.
here's the,
It brings you right to the hub of town. It's ideal in that situation. So my big concern is obviously maintenance of that. I know that Beartooth Trails,
yeah, BRTA does a great job.
they
so.
do a great job, but at the same time, like, I hate overextending them in any
Right.
way. I know that Nick has been on top of this one for a while and excited about it. But then I also wonder about, like, wintertime maintenance of it,
Is
like.
that a thing, though? I mean, are all of our trails maintained right now?
No, but I just feel like this one would have a particular useful use.
Well, and if that's the case, with it being one of how many trails,
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah, I just wonder about that and liability, like if it's not maintained and someone's walking down to the grocery store and they slip and fall on their butt.
Well, the
you
one
know.
that's on the other end of Airport Road, that's on the 14th or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I'm looking,
Is, you know, still pretty passable in the winter. Like,
Yeah.
it's also fairly straight, so.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
true.
so I
A
pulled
little
up
bit less
out of
of
conversation,
oh, look, we have the same thing pulled up.
I pulled this up, so this is the triangle, if you want to, so here's Joanne's house here, so here's 8, jog up to here, and it's this corner.
It's that triangle between Airport Road, the top of 8, that little extension where your cursor's out there that goes to the north, is that behind O'Neill's house?
This is down the hill, yeah, so here's O'Neill's over here,
Oh,
and so all of this property is here.
That's Joanne.
Joanne's house is right here, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, there is
And then the
another way to
Nightmare
get
on
up there.
Hauser, no, I'm sorry, that's not in this.
There is another way to get up to that park, and that is on North Adams.
I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
As I say, you can get to it here, you can get to it here. This right here is city land, including, in fact, if I were in Cadastro right now, this trailer right here is actually on city property, as is half of this greenhouse. So the
I
city
just-
property
I'm like, what? Why am I
is
looking
actually
at
right about at this corner right here, up through the middle of that greenhouse, is where city property currently extends.
that? Okay,
No. That's Steve's place, or,
Yep.
right there.
The triangle park is which piece, Dave?
This right here.
Okay.
And it's actually labeled as a park, but like we have several in town that we
kidding.
call useless parks because they haven't been developed yet. My understanding, is that all of these trees are actually an invasive species anyway. So one of the questions is, do we take it all out and put grass, a whole bunch of stuff that has not even entered into the conversation yet. So the big problem right now is they're coming down here, and if I pulled this up in Cadastro, it might have been better because it would show where the property lines are. So he's talking about donating a piece of tract around here. He has not expressed an interest in taking and including this as part of that donation. And there's also some wet spots over the hill that are problematic. So there's a question about whether it comes out, comes back into here, whether it comes out here, jogs back and forth. How do we utilize that park within that? And that goes to Hope's question. what terms can he dictate? The reality is he can dictate any terms he wants, but the city is is only obligated to them to the extent we accept the offer. So like, one of the possibilities that came up is if somebody else offers theirs, but only on the condition that we never take something else, and it's like, I don't see council, you know, when you start putting too many conditions, I see council saying, thank you, no.
Question with that, would that be a deed restriction at that point? Would there be an agreement that's held in place? What keeps that in perpetuity?
It's a deed restriction. So the other thing to remember is that part of this conversation, when it started out, it doesn't have to involve the city at all. He could literally donate this to Beartooth Trails, and the city has zero say in any of it. By having it go to the city, we have the ability, and having it come over as a dedicated parkland, it actually protects it in perpetuity for the long term, which I think is in their interest, and I also think it's in the best interest of the city, because all the conversations we're having right now are not going to be conversations 50 years from now, or even 20 years from now. And so I look at it as, what is the appropriate way to set this up in perpetuity? And it made more sense to me, and my recommendation was it should be donated to the city, and that also got us into the conversation versus if it goes to Beartooth Trails, we literally are out of the conversation completely, and we have no input at all.
Okay.
And that potential still exists, but I said I'd prefer to keep it in the city conversation because I prefer to seat at the table.
I feel like with having it donated to Beartooth Trails, that's one, how is that being held? Are they holding the land? Is it being broken out? Or is it just an easement situation? And then in that situation, now we're dealing with insurance? Yes.
No, yeah, so they hold
sounds
the
attractive.
trail, but to your example, 25 years from now, they could say, we want to auction it off to the highest bidder.
Right.
If it's a city land and it's accepted as parkland, the only way it ever gets out of parkland is if it goes to a vote of the public and it gets taken out of it.
Okay.
So that's the advantage of putting it in the city.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you have a comment? Okay, sorry, I was just, I don't do well with two voices.
Can you just, with your cursor, kind of mark where the proposed trail is gonna be, just kind of trace it along from wherever he's talking about starting it? And how it's gonna go up there?
You can go up there right now if you want. There's actually pink flags, so you could either walk up to this location
Yeah,
and look up and see it, or you could start up at the trail and kind of walk back and forth, and there's pink, and it kind of goes like this.
So it goes more like
Actually,
straight up the hillside, but,
It goes back and
with
forth on the
switchbacks.
hillside.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And then when it gets down to the triangle, so it actually, it comes out to about here and then comes back here is what it currently
Okay.
is. And there's a wet spot over here, right
And one
up
more
here.
request,
I was gonna say, that whole hill is pretty nasty, isn't it?
you have a suggested routing.
Well,
Okay.
we can talk about that, you know, at the meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay, all right.
And like I said, I'd encourage anybody who has an interest to go there. But the thing that I will remind everybody is that ultimately, this is gonna be a decision between the person donating the land and city council accepting the donation. So Parks is an input. You know, there's a lot of us that are inputs, but that's where the decision's actually gonna be made.
Well, sorry, one last question. Where's the area that Mr. O'Neill is suggesting this donation?
Right here where my cursor is. So he actually owns the land. There's a fence. I can't see if that's the fence right there. I think that's, actually, if I can see where the trail comes across.
That's okay.
Well, yeah, because you can see his trailer up there on the east side of
Yeah,
Airport
that's
Road.
his horse
Right.
trailer.
But there's actually, it's clear over here.
Right,
So
Yeah.
the trail is actually right about here. So what he's talking about donating is some land. So this is an obstacle. Like I said, what I really ought to do is pull it up in cadastral,
I'm doing
because
it.
then I could answer that question more easily. Let me see if I can
But
do
it's
that.
a fairly large piece.
It's a fairly large chunk of land
It's like
that
45.
basically is
it's
all the way
not-
along here.
It's not an easy.
And then comes up here. So it's basically like an L with a drooping L if I'm looking at it sideways.
It's a substantial donation.
May I make another comment,
Yes, sir.
please? I live right there. I'm gonna meet with Dave tomorrow, my wife is anyway.
Okay.
If we could sit out of the picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull
That's
this up
okay.
because
That's
people were
okay.
asking, and I think I can probably
The
do it.
one thing about this project, we support the project
Uh-huh.
as neighbors to the park.
Okay.
However, the public ground that is the park is the park's decision.
Mhm.
They have, the city has to
It's the
make
council's decision.
the council's decision, yep, on where that trail needs to go through that park.
Yeah.
And that's all I've got to say.
Oh,
That
okay.
it will be a city's decision of where to actually put that trail, if it needs to be a trail in that park. There is already, a very well-established trail that comes right down to Ward,
Okay.
but it's North Adams, which comes right by Greg's place. And I understand why he doesn't want the trail there. But there is a way to put a trail in there that I think would benefit everybody. That's
Great.
what I want.
Okay, well, I'm excited for the field trip tomorrow now, or.
It does
on
help to
Monday.
look at it on the ground, for sure.
Yeah.
It looks what?
It does help a lot to
Helps,
see it
helps,
in person, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
it
and it-
really does.
It's a very,
I'm doing this from just a zoom in, and I didn't get there.
that is.
Yeah.
Oh, my. So that is quite a big.
Yeah.
chunk.
Well, it's not all of it.
No.
No.
Well, that's a big chunk he's donating there.
Right? That's like half Montana.
The whole town.
How can I,
Here, I got you.
no, let me go to carbon, I can
Mhm.
dial into this way, search.
And it's only a section, correct?
I spend a lot of time in,
Cadastral?
yeah.
Yeah, nice
So
part.
I know how to just boop.
Yeah, if you wanna come.
Yeah, it helps
Oh,
to
here we
be.
go, I'm there, I
Okay.
found it.
I think you're in the right.
That's all I need to do is get into Red Lodge.
We're not in Billings. We are in Montana.
So like I said, this was the piece of property he wants, so you can see the shape of this property right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is his property right here. And originally he wanted to do is trade us this, basically kind of just lop off this end right here.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to trade that for this.
You wanted to give that to the city?
Pardon?
You wanted to give this to the city?
He wanted to trade this right here for this triangle right here. And we said, this doesn't have value to the city, but this does. So
Mhm.
ultimately what we did is we traded this piece of land for this piece of land.
So he had that little blue square?
Yeah, he owned that blue square. And so that is now, no, it's not.
So he got the square, but
No,
were you?
no, we got the
He
square.
gave up the square, and what did he get in
He
return?
got this
That, okay.
triangle that's where the gravel pit was.
Right, right.
And the other thing you need to look at this, as you look at this, is that more than half of this lot has water mains and sewer
Yeah,
mains on it.
utility.
So this is basically a non-buildable lot,
Mhm,
this is a buildable lot.
mhm.
And the decision that the input that I made, or that I presented to council was, a piece of property without a donut hole in the middle of it is more valuable than a piece of property with a donut hole in the middle of it. And so that was, and this is adjacent to his property, which was advantageous. So basically, it was this end, and then, and at the time, I jokingly said, you're gonna come back and donate that to us in a couple of years anyway, because you don't wanna pay taxes on it. And so 2 years later, he called up and said, so, he wants to donate this now at this point.
What about the gravel storage facility that's no longer gonna be available?
That's his now.
Right, so what is,
Oh.
was that city gravel or county?
That was our gravel. No, that was our roadworks and our stuff.
You don't need, obviously, you've got to.
We have alternatives, which up to and including at the airport if we need to. That's not incompatible with aviation. So, I mean, there's all sorts of city land that we have available. But that was one of the concerns. So this is, with this up, I can kind of, somebody said, where is it? It's basically this land, kind of, if I draw this piece up to here,
Mm-hmm.
and then it comes down enough to get into this. So it's basically just lopping off the south end of that property is what the donation is, or the proposed donation.
Okay.
And so we can come back and say, hey, we really want you to donate up to here rather than up to here, but we don't have any position to stand on. That's his making a donation.
But now O'Neill wants the trail where he's suggesting, where you did little squiggle marks and stuff.
Right through here.
That's to get people away from being on 8th Street going on the south side of his property? Is that the position he's taking?
No, that has been proposed, and it's been proposed that it had to do with a failed transaction that happened over here. I don't buy that by virtue of the fact that this conversation was taking place long before that center piece of property ever went for sale. So like I said, there's an argument that I have heard being put out there that I know from my own firsthand involvement is not an accurate argument. If it is it playing into a conversation after the fact? Potentially, I can't say, but this is done as a donation, not as a spiteful move. And
No, I wasn't thinking spiteful, but just in terms of, well, he's got a motive, donate this over here, put the trail where he wants it, and it removes traffic from closer to his home.
well, as opposed to bisecting his property, because if it wouldn't do him any good to own a little piece of property over here if it's up here.
Yeah.
Plus this joins into that. So he's
Right.
willing to make a donation of a certain size, but there's also a limit to what he's gonna donate. And in my general experience, when anybody donates anything, hi, I'd like to write you a check for $1 million. No, we really need $2 million. I mean, you can throw it out there as a suggestion, but when they say no, you accept it. And so now we're back to he'll make the donation that he's comfortable making, and it will be city council's decision, do we accept that? And part of that will be how it fits in. One of the conversations is, to me, just end the trail right here. Just, what happens if the trail just ends right there?
At the top of it.
Yeah, if that basically ends that's at the end of his property, and this is, if the discussion's there, because one of the advantages of this is it just drops you right down into the grocery store.
Part of the problem with that though is like this section right here is super steep. Like you're kind of shuffling your feet going down that thing.
Yeah, right here, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it would be stairs.
Yep.
And I think, my understanding is the parks originally drew one that came across here and then came back here,
Yeah.
with kind of a cross in it. And I was not at that meeting, but my understanding was donations off the table if you want to do that. And I wasn't at that meeting, but again, the donor has the right to, that kind of goes back to Hope's question, the donor has the right to make conditions and offers, and we accept them as part of it.
Now,
I'll give you this land if it will ever be a park, and
Okay.
you name it after me.
I'm going to start to recenter this.
Yeah, good, it's your meeting.
Thanks.
Bring it back.
So, bringing it back, Wednesday, there is an opportunity to go tour the space as a city council's position. We will keep an ear to the ground for this to come to the table with an actual proposal and presentation. That was a very fun noise.
Madam Chair, are you done with this picture?
Go ahead, yes.
Yes.
And what I will do, just because somebody's gonna come up and then.
You can be Madam Chair too. Okay, so thank you very much for all the input on that. Again, I can understand that there would be some sensitivity to having a trail system next to your home and again, I just look forward to seeing what's proposed in terms of from Fairtooth Trails and from parks specifically, because in my eyes, they are the experts on the subject. So, and again, look forward to an opportunity to add to our trail system as well as even our park system and make a great asset for the community. So, moving onward to, oh my goodness, process for designating and changing the use of city-owned land.
This is my favorite.
So, you go ahead and bring up the flow chart. I was going to bring up a recommendation for this. So this has been on our agenda for approximately, a year? Ish? About a year, that we have gotten nothing but a rough draft on and a little bit of feedback. I am wondering if we can find a more productive way to move forward on this, or
Find somebody who actually
has done something like this. I would like to request from this table,
Mhm.
how would we feel? And Mr. Mayor, because you are staff, gentleman, you're the boss, sorry.
Go.
It's a 5:10 in the afternoon. But specifically, I would like to just have a discussion with this group and Jeremy with WWC, and see what his recommendation would be.
Would you like him to prepare a recommendation, or do you want to have a conversation first and just have him at this meeting?
Having a conversation just to see what's actually feasible.
Yeah, and like, and realistically, what's been done in the past at other locations, what, just really from his expert level, when we have this discussion, when we're talking about wanting to designate or change the use of city-owned land, what is the process that he feels we should be taking? And then from there, I think that provides, whether that becomes an assignment for him and the planners, then they can come back with something and we can fine-tune, tweak it.
Right.
Versus us starting it and trying to sculpt something as novices and him fine-tune tweaking it.
And my
He was being
understanding is he had kind of responded via a voicemail before that says you guys are on target and in line.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing now is we want to meet with you and make sure you're understanding us, and then we pawn it off on you to go do the action, which is not a
Yeah.
problem because they're paid.
Yeah.
We're not.
And realistically, I think having
They've
it
experienced.
done by an expert where they have the framework and the process, and potentially this takes them an hour versus us taking 2 years,
2 years.
which then puts us behind at the city level. So that's kind of my thought process with it. As much as I would love to dig into this with my planning nerd brain, Chelsea's planning nerd brain is a hobby, and it's not fair to the public, nor myself, nor my partner to try and do that. So making the reasonable delegation onto a professional, I think is where we're at.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Professional.
And I don't know if it was, pardon?
Yeah.
Professional might have some good ideas for like efficiency and, hey, this town actually does it really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and then from there, we can take that process and we at least have the groundwork of things that we really want to see in there.
Exactly.
We can then implement it from something that pre-exists or is created
Right, or
by,
still can,
yeah.
what we, yeah.
Again, we take his as the framework and then sculpt it and fine tune it to make it really Red Lodges. And I think that makes good sense. And then it helps get this done because realistically, spending 10 minutes on this once a month is not realistic.
Well, and we're kind of at a point where we've done so much, but now it's kind of like, okay, so how,
Where do we take
where
it?
do we take it from here?
Yeah,
We turn it into a done.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I think that,
And in fairness, I think over that last year is we've had tennis courts, trails,
Mhm.
ice rinks, you know,
Yeah.
we've had a lot of discussions to look at it and tweak and,
yeah.
and it has, and trees at the observatory. I mean, we've had a whole series of things that have kind of given us input to hopefully give us some depth.
Yeah, and again, I think from our level, from this higher level of like looking down on it, we know what we feel is important is understanding the impacts it has on the citizens but really it's asking the right questions to make sure that it's not having a negative impact is the hard part. And we have a bunch of questions that we have sculpted in our mind, and for us, like, for instance, Red Lodge Ice and the PAR, that's a really good example of, if we just would have started with that, then boom, we could have just beelined a bunch of BS. I used my one earlier this morning, and it was a hard one.
Okay.
Well, and I would argue that from a city standpoint, we did start with that. There was a whole bunch of conversation that was happening in the community before it ever came to us.
Right, I'm just thinking, like, from our standpoint, we want to make sure that when someone comes to us with a hope and a dream, that we have a process to where they can just move along with it. We can have it nice and organized and consistent and situated, and we're getting our hopes and dreams of making sure that it has good impacts on our community versus negative, while also having a planner brain that can map it.
Yeah. Great.
Now with that, we're gonna move it to public comment.
You know, wrap it up by 20 after.
Yeah, we are.
Yep.
Any other additional public comment?
You do have a lot of folks online.
Oh, anyone online that would like to make public comment? I didn't even notice we had all.
I'm
those
seeing
up.
no hands
Going
and
once?
no unmuted.
Going twice?
Wow. Well, hopefully that settles well with everybody and we
Yeah.
all feel happy and optimistic and
5:30 tomorrow?
at 5:30, or no, what? Oh, yeah,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Tomorrow's city council
Wednesday,
meeting.
I was
sorry.
like, you had me
See, here-
confused
I
on
know.
4 levels.
See?
Oof, can't do that to me.
Wednesday.
Excellent.
Wednesday.
Well, we will see you all tomorrow at city council and Wednesday for a walk in the park.
For post.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.